Alright guys, so in this video we're going to go through the top 5 mistakes stopping you from growing muscle, and these are all to do with training. So if you're on your diet, then maybe check out my last video which was all about that. Right, so first off, let's get into it. So the biggest issue I see is with people's forms, and this is in terms of ego lifting. You see, they'd rather pick up the biggest weight they can and try and lift it from A to B. And yes, this might seem good when you're trying to impress your mates or whatever, but for actually building muscle, it is terrible. So what we want to do is we want to get the right form, moving the weight with a mind-muscle connection and through a full range of motion. So obviously, a few little tips with your form. You want to just pick up a few cues in certain lifts, like your bench press, your squat, just to make sure that you got your setup right. And obviously, if you're not sure whether you're doing your form right, just video your next few sets in your next session and you'll be able to watch it back and see whether you're lifting with the correct form or not. And if you're still unsure what the correct form is, then watch some videos online and you'll pick them up. So the next issue is volume. And often this is too much rather than too little. So you want to be aiming for 10 to 20 sets per muscle group per week. This is an ideal range to make sure that you're giving yourself enough stimulus to grow muscle without the risk of overtraining. So typically people are just training way too much and not giving themselves enough time to recover. So you just want to make sure you hit the right balance for you, and obviously you're pushing as hard as you can every session. So I want to just quickly talk about the varied effort. This comes down to the volume, but let's say, for example, you train on a Saturday morning about midday, 10, 11 o'clock, and a really good night's sleep, you've had a full breakfast, and you're really ready for this session. Obviously, then you're probably going to be able to lift a little bit more, a little bit heavier, and you're probably going to be able to do a few more sets. Compare this to on a Thursday evening, maybe when you're training, and you've had a bad night's sleep, you've had a long day at work, and then you go into train. Obviously, you might feel like you haven't got the same amount of effort as you did on that Saturday morning. So this is where it comes down to your discretion, and you want to be performing at your best perceived effort. So obviously this is going to be higher on the Saturday because you're fueled, you've had a good night's sleep, and the conditions are a lot better. So you might be able to lift a few more sets, you might be able to lift a few more sets and lift them a bit heavier. Or on that Thursday, you might be scraping through just to get some reps in and to just complete the workout, and that's completely fine. But obviously, as long as you're giving your best varied effort on that day, then that's perfectly fine. So this will just help you control where the volume is going to sit at. Obviously, days where where you've had a long day at work, you're under-fueled and you might not be able to give your best effort, just getting in and doing some volume that feels adequate for that day is perfect. And then in other days when you have got more energy, pushing that little bit more on with the volume is going to be beneficial. So just keep that in mind and obviously try and implement that. That leads us nicely on to the consistency. As I said before, you want to just show up and get it done no matter the circumstances. And the problem that people can't do this is because they have an all or nothing mindset. And that just means 1 minute they're all in and they're everything, and as soon as they fall off track with that, then they just give up and nothing's going on. So those sort of people, they'll typically do Monday, Tuesday at the gym, eating all right, and then they fall off by Wednesday, and then they'll just be like, I'll just start again Monday, and that's why they're not seeing any progress. So you want to be making these small goals and building them up over time, which will lead to your consistency. So let's say you're new to the gym, just train twice that week or 3 times that week and prove to yourself that you can just go on your word and stick to exactly what you said. And then you can slowly build it out from there. Setting these small goals and hitting them will help reinforce to yourself that you can be consistent. So that's the easiest way I've found, whether you're starting something brand new like the gym, a new sport, a new job, or just something maybe like learning to play the guitar or something. Just adding these small steps and doing them frequently is the best way to build that consistency and see results. And obviously there is no shortcuts, so you can't just bang the gym for a week, 2 weeks, a month, and expect to see results. It's not going to happen. You need to be consistent over the long term to see the results you're after, as there are no shortcuts. Next one, recovery. You need days off from the gym. Like, unless you're on all this gear and your recovery is 100%, you're going to need days off. And obviously, if you stay natural, probably going to need 1, maybe 2 days off a week to rest up and recover, so you can actually go and perform in the gym on your days of work. So the ideal way to do this is to plan your rest days. So we don't want to just go, oh, I'm just going to work out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, have 2 days off on the weekend, because realistically, 2 days off at the same time, not going to work. So ideally, somewhere do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, have Thursday off, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday off, and repeat that. So this just makes sure that you are allowing your body to recover. Obviously, this will increase the quality of your sessions, and in turn, make sure you're building more muscle. You need to make sure you're prioritizing the recovery like the training, because this is just as important. And obviously, on these off days, you want to be making sure you're fueling up. Your food and nutrition is just as important to your recovery than it is to building the muscle. So make sure you're getting your carbs in, you're getting your proteins in, just so you can make sure you're actually filling yourself up to recover, and therefore you can go again in your next session. So on to the last one, plan hop-in. So too many people just keep changing their plan. So 1 week they're doing bench press, and they're doing incline dumbbell press, and they're doing some chest flies, and they're doing some dips, and this is all well and good, learning new skills. However, you want to build your form, your weights in the same exercises, as, like I've said before, training is a skill. And the better form you have at lifting that weight from A to B, the more muscle you're going to recruit. So hopping from plan to plan is going to give you less and less time to build that skill with those certain exercises. So once you've built a plan, try and work for it into around 6 to 8 weeks. And obviously, I'm well aware that these exercises can become boring, or let's say in your gym, certain machines have just become busy and you need to swap them. Try and work in blocks. So plan your sessions for the next 6 to 8 weeks and keep doing that exercise, and you'll build a form in those certain exercises. And then think about switching it, because 1, you don't want to get bored. 1, you want to do the things you enjoy, because that means you're going to stay going to the gym. But make sure that you're still aware that you need to be building your skill and building that technique in the lifts. So that's just one thing to think about, that so many people just keep doing, and it's one of the reasons that they won't build as much muscle as they really want. So like I've said before, it would mean the world for me if you drop a subscribe and obviously tune in to my other videos. All my links for everything, the coaching, free guides, calorie calculator, all in the description below. So drop a like, drop a subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.